Hey, this is Eddie with Positively Atheist. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing a topic called nihilism. And you may or may not have ever heard of nihilism, but it's a philosophy that basically states that life is meaningless. And if you're like me and you came from a religious background that which you had a good experience in, you may have felt that you got a sense of meaning and purpose from your religious experience. For me, I had a great experience in my religious experiences in the churches I attended, and I actually had no real complaints about those experiences. And in fact, the religious experiences I had provided a lot of sense of meaning, even if there was nothing behind it. It was a sense of having a meaning and purpose that was very fulfilling. And for a lot of people, when they walk away from their faiths, they end up in a place of existential nihilism, where they essentially realize that kind of feel like that everything they were taught was at least potentially a lie. And as a result, they basically fall into this pattern of despair where they feel like, well, nothing has any meaning if all of that was not true is not true. And I think this is an important point for my response, because I want to give a little of my response about this, about how I dealt with it and how I feel like many people can deal with it, to provide a little more hope in your life, in a sense. So I'm an atheist, but more specifically, I'm an agnostic atheist, meaning I'm an atheist because I don't believe in a God, right? But I'm agnostic in the sense that I don't claim certain knowledge. And I did a video on atheism, agnosticism, and why they're not actually polar opposites, and why all of us are some combination of either Gnostic or atheist, and I'm sorry, Gnostic or agnostic, and then atheist and theist. These are actually two different columns when it comes to, because we have atheism and theism, which deal with your with your beliefs. You have Gnosticism and agnosticism dealing with your knowledge. And this is evidenced by the fact that you can be agnostic about any topic. You know, traditionally agnosticism was more defined towards religious ideologies, but the truth is we do and can use that word to describe any sort of position. So you can be agnostic about the Easter Bunny. You can be agnostic about tooth fairies. You can be agnostic about Santa Claus, and you can be agnostic about things like how many jelly beans are in a jar at the state fair, right? Notice that's different from your belief. So you can believe there are 350 jelly beans in the jar, but you can not claim to have any actual certain knowledge about that. You haven't run any formulas. You haven't actually shown any proofs about why. You're just believing that there are 375 jelly beans in the jar. At the same time, you're agnostic about that position. You're not claiming certain knowledge, right? Now, the reason why I bring that up is because this gets to what we call the burden of proof. When you make a positive assertion, that doesn't mean positive in the sense that it's good or bad. What I mean by positive is you're making a truth statement about reality. Then you then have what we call a burden of proof. So let's take the example I gave of the jelly beans in the jar. If I said to you, I know for a fact there are 375 jelly beans in this jar, well, then I should and could be able to demonstrate why I know that. So I can show you a mathematical formula that I ran, or I could show you a receipt which shows the exact amount of jelly beans in that jar. That's right. So that would make me Gnostic about that, because now I have knowledge, right? Now, the thing is about all of these topics we're discussing when it comes to spirituality and religion and gods and this kind of stuff, none of us really know about this stuff, right? We're all essentially agnostic, aren't we? Because let's face facts. When we're talking about things about like supernaturalism or gods or heaven or hell, it's kind of all hearsay, isn't it? Because until the point that you die, and when I say die, I mean truly die. That's where rigor mortis sets in. Your body your blood is congealed into a solid form, and you know, I think that's a pretty good place where your body is rotted in the ground. So the point that you've gone through that process, you haven't really died, and you don't really know what's on the other side, right? If there is anything at all, this is all just conjecture. I have a lot of people in a similar to this discussion. I have a lot of people ask me, "Well, what do you think will happen to you after you die?" And my answer is pretty simple. Well, the answer is I don't know what's going to happen a minute from now, much less what's going to happen after I die. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Anything could happen tomorrow. Maybe I won't even be alive tomorrow, right? But what is death? Death is just another point in my life. And as far as I know, the day after I die is just another day, right? So if I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, how can I say what's going to happen after I die? I don't know if I can. So this gets me to my answer to how I deal with nihilism. So for me, nihilism, as in there is no meaning to life, it really carries with it a burden of proof that I personally feel can't be met, right? And let me explain that. So the idea that life is meaningless comes with some burdens of proof. To me, you have to be able to show, if you're going to say life is meaningless, you have to be able to show that is the actual truth and the fact. The problem is the same problem we have with God, with this idea of whether or not there's a God. I don't believe it's possible for a person to rationally hold a belief system or to rationally hold a position that there are no gods, right? Just in the same way, I don't believe that people can hold the position there is no meaning in life, because science does not seem to have a way to deal with questions about supernatural things, right? In other words, science is the study of the natural world, the natural phenomenon. When we're talking about things that happen after we die, essentially spiritual type things, whether or not there's a God, whether or not there's meaning and purpose, this doesn't seem to be an area where science currently has even a mechanism to deal with those questions or provide solutions, right? Now, it may be the case that one day science may actually be able to show these things or actually be able to ascertain these things, and at which time those things stop. The problem though is at that time those things in the realm over here, the supernatural realm, just simply get included in the whole set, and now they become part of the natural world, and that kind of takes away the whole idea of there being a supernatural realm at all. So it may be the case that we can ascertain those things with science, but we can't currently do that. Now, the problem I have with nihilism comes from this fact. The problem is we really don't know what the nature of reality is. We don't. We don't know. I mean, for all we know, the base nature of reality could be magic, right? But we don't know these things. And so because we don't know these, making a statement that everything is meaningless, in my opinion, is a statement that is made without any actual evidence. And as the saying goes, that which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. So what does that mean? To me, it means that I really don't know if this life has meaning and purpose or not, right? I know for some people that is scary. That is scary because you're moving from a position of certainty to a position of I don't know. So the way I've chosen to interpret things is when it comes to nihilism and meaning and purpose is I've decided to just live my life as if I'm a character, I'm a hero in a storybook, right? And that I'm part of some cosmic play, and I'm the hero. I'm the centerpiece hero of this story. And I've just tried to live my life in that way, right? Worst case scenario, I'm wrong, and there is nothing. So what? you know, at the end of the day, what does that really matter? But let's say there is meaning and purpose in life. Maybe I am part of some cosmic play, and I am the hero of the story. Well, then I have fulfilled my purpose, you know. But this brings me to the other side of the argument. Coming from religion, religion does provide this sense of comfort that you are part of some cosmic play, that you are an actor and you are fulfilling your role in God's holy purpose, as an example. I want to actually challenge that notion because to me, the more I think about it, the more you have to ask yourself is that really meaning and purpose? If there is a God out there and he does have like this big play and this big script and you're just an unknowing actor in this play, I understand how that can somehow bring a sense of peace to you, right? That you are part of, that there's a plan for you and that all of this is part of this grand design. But I would have challenged that notion and ask you, is that really meaning and purpose? I mean, if somebody else is describing for you what you should do, what you need to do, and if you don't follow that, you're not following the plan and you're this, that, and the other thing. Is that really meaning and purpose? Doesn't meaning and purpose come from the ability for you to take what you love and what you enjoy and what you're passionate about and turn that into your own meaning and purpose? Isn't that true meaning and purpose? And at the end of the day, maybe that is what our meaning and purpose is to maybe, I've heard it, I think it was Carl Sagan that said that we essentially are, if you really think about how we are built and how reality is formed, we are, in a lot of ways, the universe experience in itself. And maybe that is the meaning and purpose of life. For the universe to experience itself through consciousness. And we don't really know the answers to these. And I think that's the beautiful thing about learning about nihilism and learning about these different things, because there are a lot of questions. And I think anybody who says there aren't is fooling themselves. And this is on both sides of the discussion. You have people who are nihilists who are just convinced that life has no meaning. Then you have people who are theists who believe life has a meaning. It's prescribed by some God. I think both of those positions are very untenable, right? Because both of those positions require you to believe things without evidence and have conviction without evidence. So the idea that there is no meaning and purpose, I don't think that's a position you can hold rationally. Just like I don't think it's possible to hold a position that there is definitely no God rationally. And I've done a video on that, but I will say just a quick note as an example on that. Like, I mean, even if you were omniscient and omnipotent, and you could be at all places, all times, and you could you could know all things, right? Even if that were the case, you still couldn't prove there isn't a God. You still couldn't prove there isn't meaning and purpose, because by definition, these things are magical in nature. Meaning and purpose coming from some type of force. This is basically magic, essentially. And the problem is you can never rule magic out. You can't rule it in because it's by definition has a zero probability. But you also can't rule it out because by definition, since if God is supposedly technically magical, he could just make himself unknowable to you. And by definition, you cannot know what you don't know, right? So these are all just kind of thoughts I'm throwing out there. Like, I thought it was an interesting topic to discuss. And I think for me, like I said, what I try to do is I try to live my life in such a way that I value science, I value knowledge, I value these things because they seem to bring me to the best point of happiness and help me to make the best decisions in my life. And when it comes to nihilism, I just don't buy it. I don't buy that we know for sure that there is no meaning and purpose. I kind of hope that there is. I kind of hope there is meaning and purpose behind all this. But that doesn't mean I believe that there is either. It just means that I live my life like I'm the hero in my story. And whatever happens, happens. Just like tomorrow is going to happen regardless, right? There will be a tomorrow. There will be 5 seconds from now or 10 seconds from now. And whatever happens at that time, I let that happen and just let and be okay with that. I don't really have a choice, do I? I don't have a choice, but the fact that I don't know what's going to happen 10 seconds from now. I just experience that and I hope for the best. And I think that's all we can ever do. And I hope this is an encouraging message for many of you who are struggling with meaning and purpose coming out of faith. And it might be a slightly different perspective than what you've heard from other atheists who can tend to be very dogmatic about their beliefs about this lack of meaning and purpose. Who knows? Who knows what the base level of reality is? I don't think any of us do. And I think it's worth exploring, and that's all we can do. Just explore, use a scientific method and process to explore more and learn more. And I think this is the most rewarding part of life for me. Learning, experiencing, growing as a person. And if at the end it didn't mean anything, well, it is what it is. But who knows? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So I'd love to get your feedback in the comments section below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, providing valuable content for the atheist community and those who are interested in atheism or who are kind of like learning more about it. Or if you have other thoughts, you disagree with me, I'd love to hear your comments in the comments section below. Please like and subscribe to the channel and share with somebody who you know is dealing with this existential crisis of nihilism, meaning and purpose, and hopefully it will help encourage them. Thank you.